Do we have to do this?
We're recording!
Tonight on RAVEstream, a recap of our Tuesday Cornerstone class.
A Devo on building your foundation.
Yeah, is Thor even worthy? Stick around to find out.
I've got my hand sanitizer in my shoe. It's time for the RAVEstream.
Excellent! What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3. We're super excited that you guys are here. We got a lot going on tonight, and so we're going to get right to it. Want to talk about our Cornerstone class. If you did not attend, you're in luck, because as soon as this video started, as soon as our live stream started, we uploaded a Cornerstone Recap video, which has some links to some other videos and some things that you can watch and kind of be a part of what we did yesterday. Actually, in the bottom of this live stream, in the comments or the description, actually, there are links to that video. So you can click on that link and watch that video and kind of participate in our Cornerstone class. For those of you that don't know what Cornerstone is, our Cornerstone classes are life skill classes. And the whole idea behind them is for us to talk about doing things in a way that makes us more effective. There are all kinds of verses in Scripture where God talks about making the most of our opportunities, where it talks about letting the Spirit lead us, where it talks about where Jesus says, serve with all your heart as if you're working for the Lord and not for men. And that includes every opportunity that we have. But there's a lot of things in life, especially as you're getting older, that maybe you don't know how to do, and the internet is a great place to find those things. But there's a whole lot of things that you may not know to find out, or you may not know to ask. Just because Google's out there doesn't mean you know what to ask Google. And there may be a whole lot of things out there that you guys need to learn that would help you, that would lower your stress levels, that would help you at school, help you at home, help you in everyday situations. And so we're doing a class where we can talk about those things, where we can ask, like we did yesterday, what are some things you struggle with at school? What are some things that don't go well? And let's see if we can help each other as the body. I think that's a very biblical thing. I think it's a very family thing for us to do as brothers and sisters in Christ. And so yesterday we talked about good study habits. Since you guys are going to be some of you guys are going back to school, some of you guys are staying virtual. But school is weird right now, and it's going to be weird for a little while. But as you're going back into those things, how do you have good study habits? How do you make the most of your classes and not struggle through them? Not only so you can make the most of those opportunities, but so you can free yourself up to not stress about those things, to not worry about those things, and then maybe have more time to be at teen events, to be a part of the body when those opportunities arise. And these abilities are going to carry you well into college and then past college as you learn how to do these things. So we'll talk more at the end of our devotional about what's coming up next Tuesday for our next Cornerstone class. And if you were watching the countdown timer, then you saw an advertisement for our next Cornerstone class. But we'll talk a little bit more about what that means at the end of the RAVEstream. Next, announcement-wise, there's not a whole lot going on. This Sunday, we're going to be here at the building at 10 a.m. And if you're unable to make it to the building, then you can join us on the Assembly live stream at Central Family Huntsville on YouTube. But stay tuned, because we might be doing stuff at the building Sunday evening. And we haven't set that in stone yet, and there's a whole lot of other moving parts that I got to ask questions and find out from people. But we're going to try, hopefully, to start doing some stuff at the building in preparation for you guys going back to school. Now, whether that's some singing or some prayer, whatever that is, maybe you guys can come and help make some of these videos that we'll share during our rave streams on Wednesdays. But just be checking your email, be checking Instagram, be checking our Facebook page, Central Youth Ministry, to be able to find out what kind of things are coming up. And also, if you're not part of the GroupMe, send me a message, Rodney@centralfamily.org, or you can shoot me a text, or you can put it here in the comments. Hey, I need to be on the GroupMe, and we'll add you to the GroupMe. And that's a private thing, and we add announcements on those things. If you have questions, comments, or anything you want to do, shout outs or whatever, add them to our chat tonight, and I'll make sure to get those on there. Love hearing from you guys and listening to what you guys have to say, especially when it comes to our lessons. So hope you guys are doing great. At the end of our devotional, before we get into our devotional, we've got a new video, and the big question, just like Liz said in our opening, is Thor worthy? We're going to find out at the end of our Devo, so stick around for that video. Michael and I had a whole lot of fun shooting it, and we hope you guys like it too. So we're going to get right into our Devo. Our theme, as you guys know, for this 6 to 9 weeks is unfounded, and we're talking about building a stronger foundation, what that means, what that looks like in your life. And we called it unfounded because unfounded means not based in fact. And there's a lot of things in your lives and in the world and on the internet that are not based in fact. It's a lot of opinion. People get upset about things, people get frustrated by things, and they throw out their opinions. And then somebody else will comment on it. Somebody else will feel the same way, and people get into a discussion, and we treat that like it's a fact when it's really just our opinions. And we weigh in on things that we don't have all the information on. We don't know people or what happened, or maybe what happened before a video or what happened after a video. We'd rather see things happen now. When you talk about protests or politics or justice or anything that's going on in your schools or wherever, we want to post things and we want to get upset and we want people to share that with us, but we don't want to be patient and wait for an outcome or ask the right questions for whatever reason. And so we've talked a little bit about what that means, and we're going to talk in the next couple of weeks about how to build that foundation. But tonight, as part of the stuff that we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks, I want to tease that because I'm really excited about it. We're going to talk about proof of Jesus. If we're going to talk about things being based in fact, it's not fair for me, and it's not fair to you, for me to just say, well, we're going to believe in Jesus because that's what we do. We're going to actually go through a discussion of, was Jesus a real person? And is there proof of that outside the Bible, where I can't just lay down a Bible and go, you either have to believe this or not. But we're going to go through those things, and we're going to look at some of that stuff. We're going to have some pictures. We're going to have some things you can review. We'll probably have some links to some videos you can watch later if you want to learn more. But we're going to talk about that for 2 weeks. We're going to talk about proof of Jesus. And then we're going to get into, okay, if you believe this, then what do you do with it? What's the next step? And so tonight, I really just want to look at some verses and pose a question to you, or pose a scenario to you. And so our lesson tonight is called Jesus by Default. And so I wanted to show you a verse. I actually got one verse, but it's really long, so we've broken it up into 2 pieces. And so let's look at the first part of that verse. It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 3. We're going to start in about verse 10. So if you want to look at that later on, that's what we're looking at. 1 Corinthians 3, starting in verse 10. He says, "For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. By the grace God has given me," this is Paul talking, "by the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as an expert builder, and someone else is building on it." Now what he's saying here is he knew the law. He knew everything growing up about who God was and what God was. But before he became a Christian, he did not believe in Jesus. He knew that Jesus was a real guy, but he thought that Jesus was some guy that was going against God, that he was some guy that was disrespecting God by saying that he was all-powerful, that he was God's son. And so Saul went around killing Christians and saying, you're going against the law, you're going against these things, I don't believe what you're talking about. It doesn't feel right, it doesn't sound right. Here's what I know, here's what I believe. And he killed a lot of Christians. But he knew the law, he knew all those things. And then he actually had an encounter with Jesus, and he started going around preaching about Jesus and saying Jesus is the Son of God and Jesus is all these things, and teaching people that. So when he says, by the grace that God has given me, he means I was unworthy. I did all kinds of horrible things, but God chose to give me this gift. He chose to explain things to me in a way that I was able to move forwards. And that's what I hope I can do with you guys next week, is explain it in a way that you can move forwards. Not just so, if you believe, not just so that you can go, oh, okay, Rodney, yeah, we believe. But if you don't believe, you can say, well, maybe there's some truth to this. And if you do believe, then hopefully this will strengthen the foundation that you have and help you explain it to other people when they say, why do you believe? What is this about? And so Paul says, by the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as an expert builder, but now someone else is building on it. I went around to all these churches, Paul said, and I explained Jesus to you. And now other people are building on it. They're coming in and saying, look at this scripture, look at that scripture. Let's talk about this, let's talk about that. And they're working out their own salvation. They're working out their answers on their own. And he says, someone else is building on it. But, and this is where he's writing this letter to remind them and to caution them, each one should be careful how he builds. Why? Why can't I just figure it out on my own? He says, because no one can lay any other foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now, I know it's easy for me to say, just trust the Bible, just believe the Bible. But I'm throwing this verse out here because as we move forward, I think it's going to hit you guys, whether you believe or you don't, it's going to hit us all in a very important spot. And it has to do with foundations. If you watched, and I want you, if you haven't, to go back either on GroupMe or on Instagram and look at the video that I posted on Monday. I was standing at a foundation. If you guys have driven through 5 Points towards the church building, you've seen where they're building this new house on the corner just up the street from the church building. And they had to dig out a lot, probably 6 to 8 feet of dirt to start a new foundation before they restarted building this house. And I did a video from there, and I talked about what kind of foundation do you build. And Paul is saying the same thing, to be careful how you build. Here's my theory. Here's what I think Paul is saying. If I'm to believe the Bible, if I'm to believe in Jesus, he is saying that your life already has a foundation built on it. And Paul would say that foundation is Jesus. That foundation is put there by God to be built upon. I will give you an example from real life that has nothing to do with the Bible. There's a lot of discussion about racial tension, about justice and who's right and who's wrong, and there's a lot of black and white anger out there. Right and wrong. But one of the discussions that's being had, and it's been had for years and years, is racism a learned trait, or is it something that you're born with? If you look at children, it is very easy to see, and it's been proven, it is not a born with trait. You are not born a racist. A child is not born a racist. They have to learn to be afraid of a specific race. They have to learn to dislike or hate a specific race. And so in our own world, we can see the foundation we start with outside of the Bible is one of love, acceptance, unity. Children will share their, as they get older they won't, but children will play together. They'll share their toys. Doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or whatever. But the older we get, we somehow learn to separate everything into these categories. And Paul is saying the same thing. You start with a foundation, whatever that foundation is. Paul is just calling it Jesus. But you start life with a foundation. And somewhere along the way, you either build on that foundation or you destroy it, dig it up, and start new. Okay? I've seen a lot of guys do that. Maybe some of you guys are doing that because you are in situations where adults have failed you. Or you're in a situation where your parents, you're away from your parents, or you've spent time with other people and you're deciding, what do I believe? When you go to college, that's a big opportunity to do that because your parents aren't there to wake you up, to keep you focused on your grades, to say, hey, we should go to church together. You're not there, so you get to make those decisions. Do I want to do this? Do I want to eat this? Do I want to go there? Do I want to go to church? Do I want to go to bed? Do I want to wake up at a certain time? All those different things. And you have to decide for yourself. And so you either build off of the foundation that your parents have given you, or you decide to go a different direction, which means you're digging up and destroying that foundation to build a new one or the other. And so I'm sharing this verse because I am fairly certain that you have all experienced that. Somewhere in your life, you have come into contact with something where you said, I don't know if I believe that or not. I don't know if that's true. And you decided, okay, I'm going to stick with this and I'm going to build on it and see what happens, or I'm going to tear it down. And maybe it was because you built on that foundation and something bad happened and it came crumbling down. And so you decided, I built a foundation on trusting adults or trusting a parent or trusting this friend, and they let me down. And so we're just going to destroy that foundation. If any of you have seen the movie Inside Out, and I can't use the clips obviously, but in Inside Out, when Riley starts to in her new town, she starts to either make new friends or she starts to get made fun of, or she messes up at hockey. In her mind, you see that hockey island start falling apart. That's her foundation. That's the things that she built her life on, and they start falling apart. And she has to build new things. Or she has to learn that those things were good after all. But she has to learn it on her own, right? You all start with a foundation. And somewhere along the way, you decide to either build on it or tear it down. Paul just calls that foundation Jesus. No one can lay any foundation other than the one that's already laid, which is Jesus Christ. What Paul is saying is that, and you're going to see it even more in the next section of verses, what Paul is saying is that foundation is Jesus. That foundation is the way that God wired you. It's the way that God wants you to be. And he wants to help you discover that. He wants to help you unravel who you are at your best. And God's word will tell you how to do that. But he's saying, you can't lay a better foundation than the one that Jesus has laid. Now, whether you learn that now and you say, okay, I'm going to build my foundation off of these things, and you start wrestling with those things now, like we're going to do with our study here called Unfounded. Whether you do that now or whether you do it later in college or when you get older, or whether you go, you know what, I'm going to build my own foundation. The Bible that I read, the Jesus that I serve, his word says that one day we're going to be in heaven. We're going to be in the next life face to face with Jesus, and we're going to learn that no foundation can be laid other than the one that was laid, which is Jesus Christ. Whether we learn it in this life or we learn it in the next, we're going to realize, man, I should have done this God's way. And I don't want to just go, well, you should just believe that. I want us to walk through that. But Paul says you need to figure this out, and you need to be careful how you build, because the things that you dig out and then set in concrete are really hard to tear up. They're really hard to break apart. Once you set something in stone, it is not impossible, but it is hard to destroy. And if that's Jesus, then that's great. It's really hard to destroy. But if it's not Jesus and you build it with things other than something solid, bad things can happen. And that's what Paul's about to talk about. So let's look at the rest of this verse. 1 Corinthians chapter 3. We started in verse 10. We're going to move ahead to about verse 13 or 14. And here's what it says. We're almost there.
The other one was over the other one.
Oh,
so
yeah, it was right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that before too. If any man builds on this foundation, so if you try to build on something, if you try to build on Jesus with something other than godly things, hey, I've got a foundation of Jesus, but I've got this other foundation, I'm going to build on top of it whatever I want. I'm going to build ungodly things on top of it. I'm going to, okay, yeah, I believe in Jesus. You come to church, you are all in on the youth group. Yeah, I'll come to all the events, but on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday when you go to school, you're doing all manner of other things. Paul is saying if you build on that foundation using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, your work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light. When the sun comes up, people are going to see what you're made of. The foundation is what keeps a building standing strong. Go look at skyscrapers. They have to build down deep before they ever start building up. And if they don't build deep, then that building, when it's pressured by wind or waves or whatever it is, earthquakes or anything, you will find out how strong that foundation is based on how the structure withstands wind, rain, sun, everything. And this is what Paul says. Your foundation, will be revealed with fire. And that fire will test the quality of each man's work. If what he has built survives, he will receive his reward. If it's burned up, he will suffer loss. That's just what happens. You can't blame God for that. God is saying, this world is going to put your foundation to the test. And if you are founded in God, if you are founded in Jesus, if you're founded in things like peace, hope, joy, love, when all these bad things happen, when coronavirus happens, when school shootings happen, when drugs and alcohol come your way, when premarital sex choices come your way, when violence and political unrest and all these different things come your way, you cannot blame God for those things. That's the world putting your foundation to the test. And he says, if it's burned up, you're going to suffer loss. How do I handle these things? How do I survive? What do I do? And it says, you'll suffer. If you have Jesus, that's great as your foundation. But if you've built anything ungodly, it's going to be burned up. And you will survive, but only as one escaping through the flames. It means things are going to be tough for you because you got to get back to that foundation. What Paul is saying is God's down there. And if he has to, if the world is going to pressure you, and if the world destroys you, and we would call it rock bottom, if you hit rock bottom, then you have to start back over at rock bottom and rebuild. That's why places like His Way say we are a Christ-centered recovery place. And if you want to recover from your addiction, you have to start with Jesus. You have to start with God, and you have to continue to build the way that God says to build. That's why I share these verses, because as we start next week, that's where we're going to build. But we're going to start with, is Jesus a real guy? We're going to do proof of Jesus. Is Jesus even a real guy? Was he a real person? And then you have some choices to make, and we're going to build from there. And we're going to talk about, okay, if this is true, what kind of foundation should I be building? And that foundation is going to help you build things that are stronger in your life, that withstand all that the world is going to throw at you, but they're also going to help you balance out and weigh what is unfounded, what is not based in fact. Is it true? Is it real? Is it fact? Or is it fake? If it's fact, if it's truth, then it's true no matter where you find it. We read that last week. Truth is truth no matter where you find it. If God says it's true, then you're going to find it in the real world. You're going to find things like peace and love and joy, and people are going to cling to those things. You're going to see that. You see it in the news right now. People say things like, Here's a little bit of encouragement throughout your day. Look what people are doing. When they want to speak about racial justice, they make lists of, hey, we need to have, more places where people can vote. We need to have more money going to places of poverty. Guess what? Jesus said, give to the poor. He said, make every effort to treat others as equals. Don't look down on anybody. There's all kinds of verses that talk about us doing those things. And so it's no wonder that whenever we think things are broken, we try to get back to those foundations. We try to get back to those things. And the world would say, well, these are new ideas and these are great ideas. And God just kind of goes, no, they're not. They're not new. These are things that I've been telling you for hundreds of thousands of years. But you're getting back to what Paul said, the foundation that is laid, that is Jesus Christ. That's why you hear old school Christians on Facebook or other places go, we got to get back to Jesus. We got to get back to Jesus. What they're saying is we have to build on something solid. That's why there's a parable about a wise and foolish builder, the one that built on the rock, that built on something solid that wasn't going anywhere, and the one that built on the sand. His building may have been beautiful, but it wasn't about how beautiful the building was. It was about how solid the foundation was that it was built on. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And all I'm doing right now is showing you that when we get to those things, and you have probably experienced this already, you're going to discover that the things you've built, when the world presses in, you're going to discover whether or not they were built on something solid, something truthful, something real, or whether or not they were built on something that you only thought was true. Maybe it was your opinion, or maybe it was a fear, or maybe it was, some way that you were protecting yourself so you didn't have to deal with something. We put up a lot of walls in our lives so we don't have to deal with pain. And maybe that's what you've done. And we're going to explore all those things, but I want to take you guys on a journey to get there. I don't think it's right for me to just throw the Bible down and say, believe it or don't. Now, we're going to get there. After 6 or 7 of these classes, we're going to get to a point where I say, I can't lay it out any better. Now's the time for you to make a choice. Because faith is involved in this. At some point, you have to say, yes, I believe this, or no, I don't. And you have to give it a try. Even Psalms, even David says in the Psalms thousands of years ago, taste and see that the Lord is good. At some point, you're just going to have to try it. I can lay out the meal in front of you, but you got to try it, okay? Thank you guys for paying attention. Thank you guys for listening to these lessons. I'm really enjoying doing these lessons with you. I'm enjoying talking to you about these things. I know our discussion was a lot longer today, but our whole RAVEstream is actually a little bit shorter. So, like I said, I promised you a video. I'm really excited about this one. Is Thor worthy? I don't know, but let's find out. So there you have it. What do you know? Thor was worthy. We're going to have more of those. We got some other videos coming next week, some different videos. I'm really excited about one of them, and we're going to go ahead and tease it. Michael is going to have his own segment next week. It's going to be really awesome. Not going to tell you any more than that. But if you are a sports fan, you might want to tune in. That's all I'm going to give you, okay? And so be paying attention for announcements the rest of this week about some things that may be going on Sunday. We're going to try to put some activities in place, but there's still some conversations going on about what we can do and where we can do it and that kind of thing. And so just be paying attention to that. Keep talking on the GroupMe. We had some visitors on Sunday, and we added them to the GroupMe. They were really interested in what we're doing and being a part of all this stuff, and so they're actually added to the GroupMe already. Cornerstones class on Tuesday, 1 to 3 during the day. So if you want to come up here and do your schoolwork on Tuesday morning, come on up. Text me. Send me a message. I'll be here. You can use our Wi-Fi. It's really good. And then from 1 to 3, we will do our own, we'll do our Cornerstone class, which is going to be general life hacks, general skills and stuff. So there are a whole lot of things that you may not know how to do. So we're gonna figure out how to find answers to some normal life things. When do you pay your taxes? When do you, if you get a job, do you have to fill out forms as a teenager to do that? What kind of things do you have to do to make that happen? All kinds of things like that. So there's a whole lot of different things. And then if you have any general questions about, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that, bring those to this one. You're going to get you'll get an email. We'll post some of those different bullet points about what those things are, what those general life skills are later in the week. Don't forget, there's a link in the description of this video that'll send you to our recap of yesterday's Cornerstone, and will help you learn a little bit about how to have better study habits. In addition to that, I want to send out a prayer request for Mr. John and Miss Pat. They found out that Miss Pat was tested positive for coronavirus over the weekend. And so it wasn't here at the building. They had been out of town, but she tested positive, and so they're quarantined for 2 weeks, so they're not here. And I know they want to be here, and they love being here, and you know that they're involved in so many things. And so say a prayer for them, that they'll be getting better. And if you have time to send a letter or a message to them, I'll post their address in the GroupMe. And so if you want to send them a letter, or if you want to send them an email and just say, hey, hope you're doing okay, praying for you, love you guys, feel free to do that. But look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you guys for sticking with us. And check out that we'll have the Thor video posted. We'll have the video, the behind the scenes video, which is actually an El Tejido sneak attack video. We'll have all those posted on YouTube. And if you have any questions, comments, send me those. Put those in the GroupMe. Comment on here. Make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube. There's a little bell in the bottom corner here where you can get notifications every time we go live. Subscribe. I love our little link. There's the bell. Make sure you do that so that every time we go live, you'll get a notification. Every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification. I have been talking to some of you guys and have heard that when you can't watch the video live, you are watching it later. And so we're getting a lot of people that are still watching and connecting with our videos, which is really, really awesome. So share these videos on your YouTube or on your Instagram. Share a link wherever you can. We'll use this as an outreach opportunity. And if you want to be involved in the opening videos like Liz and Sagina were at the beginning of this video, send me a video or send me a message and say, hey, I want to do that. I want to be involved. Do that. If you got anything you want to talk about, send me those comments and we'll talk about them on the air. But don't forget about those things, about liking, subscribing, connecting with us on YouTube and GroupMe, Facebook, Twitter, and our Cornerstones class coming up on Tuesday. We love you guys, and we'll see you on Sunday, or we'll see you right back here next Wednesday. Bye.